Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports. This is another game recap that Jade and I will be doing. It is the 30th of December. By the time you see this, it'll be the 31st, I imagine, just because we'll post about it on the 31st. It'll be probably posted tonight. I don't know. Who cares? The Kraken beat the Utah Hockey Club, begin a four-game homestand by a score of 5-2. This was an interesting game, just because you know the obviously, we've documented on Keeping Up with the Kraken how poor Seattle has looked throughout the year and just mainly inconsistent. They'll get the good wins against good teams or they'll play good against good teams, and then they'll drop two of three to two of the worst teams in the Pacific Division, and it's not too much of a slight because you're only one spot ahead of those two, right? So I was just kind of curious to see how Seattle would look in this game after, the wild comeback that they had in the last 5 minutes of their win over Vancouver to tie that one since they looked like crap for the first 55 minutes. And the first period was interesting. I think, Jade, you would agree. This, Seattle had a disallowed goal. Jaden Schwartz looked to have a nice backhander on the power play. There was a bit of a skirmish afterwards. Jade liked that I used the word skirmish,
It
which
was a good word.
I wanted to say fight, but it really wasn't a fight. There's a lot of grabbing and pushing. It
I
was more
watched
like,
back
yeah,
the video that I have, and there's a couple, Dunn lands a couple good punches, but yeah, it was a lot of pushing and shoving and
yeah. I
holding,
wouldn't say
essentially.
full-fledged fight.
Yeah.
Um, so there was that, and Jaden Schwartz was even asked about it post game, and he said it was just high compete level. And I'd say that. I mean, there were hits all night. The board line that Sylvia mentioned so often of Ty Cartier, Yanni Gord, and Brennan Tanev. There was a lot of hits from those guys, and it makes sense for all of those guys. Vince Dunn nearly got into it with Michael Carcone several times. There was one time I have a video of it where they were getting into it near the penalty box, and then the puck comes to them, and they just stop because the play had come to them and they had to do something. But yeah, Jaden Schwartz, the goal is challenged for offsides by Utah. It was correctly called offsides. Logan Cooley ends up getting one on the power play as he's left wide open on the flank, and he's able to just hit a one timer that Grubauer makes he gets a piece of, but it goes through his legs. Yanni Gord's able to get one, and I told this to Jade. I think at some point in the third period, but it just seemed good that they were the Yanni Gorge goal here is an example of that. The Kraken didn't seem tentative with their shots. They were able to just kind of shoot first and not care about it, which is what Sylvia talked about in this week's, sorry, Keeping Up with the Kraken episode, which was really cool. The same thing goes for the second goal that the Kraken scored in the first period. Jaden Schwartz puts a puck in the general direction of the net about 51 seconds after the Yanni Gord goal. Um, and Andre Burakovsky, of all people, shaved Andre Burakovsky, Jade,
Hmm.
shaved Andre Burakovsky, gets a nice redirect on that puck and gets on the score sheet. First game since being back with the illness that he seemed to suffer over the holidays. I don't know what he got. It wasn't too much eggnog or something. I don't know. Um, so you go into the first intermission feeling good, right? I mean, Utah had sustained a lot of ozone time, right? I think you agree with that. They had been
Hmm.
in the offensive zone quite a bit. Seattle did lead the shots going into the first intermission, but it was kind of deceptive. The second period was kind of a unique one. Um, I'd say the first half of it was fine, but we were just talking about this before we hit record. The second half of the second period, just kind of slow, boring hockey.
I noticed
Um,
that closer to like the 5 minutes left, probably mark in the second period, where I was like, okay, these guys are looking tired and slow, and the game just isn't moving the same way that it was even 10 minutes ago. Which with the Kraken this year, that can be kind of a sign of alarm.
mm,
Because it seems like in the past they've kind of slowed down, dropped the game a little bit, and then can't really find their way back.
yeah, yeah,
And so then sitting there, I was like, I haven't really seen a line change happen in what feels like a long time. And like I was just telling you, I looked and I was like, okay, A lot of them have
Yes.
had like a minute and a half shift, which doesn't seem like very long, but that's a long time for a shift. So definitely once the line change was able to happen, I think that that's when I saw it kind of pick back up and um I was glad to see that they were able to come back from what tends to make me nervous with the Kraken specifically this year.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to mention because, Utah. And I talked with RJ, our buddy from Emerald City Hockey, who had talked to Nick Nikolchek, who, if you'll remember, was with the Root Sports crew for our Kraken before this past season with the Kraken Hockey Network. And Nick joined Utah and the hockey clubs. I don't know what their entertainment group's name is. I watch Utah games. But both of them kind of said that this is a team that they have pieces. I'm a fan of Dylan Guenther as someone who covered him when he was with the Seattle Thunderbirds during their 2023 WHL championship winning season. You obviously look at guys like a Logan Cooley, um, Mikhail Sergachev, obviously, who had a -4 plus minus, which negative plus minus isn't everything, right? Clayton Keller, obviously. Um, they've got pieces, but they have a lot of things to learn as a group. That could have obviously been said for this team if it was Arizona still. And they even had some bits, during the TV timeouts. And I looked at Jade and I just kind of shook my head because there was one where they went up to someone in the nice purple. Um, I don't know if it's in like a Knights theme. I'm sure there's like night time, not Vegas, themed Arizona jersey, and they took it off and they're like, "Oh, you sad that your team, left you, like, did you dirty or
Abandon you.
something?" Yeah, and I was like, "The team didn't do that. Like, it's a city that has had a team stolen from them. Don't do that." I
Yeah.
just think that I'm not gonna try to do it as much as I did with the last episode of Keeping Up with the Kraken. That's horseshit. Come on, like folks talking about the slight detour. We'll get back on track. The Sacramento Kings in the NBA, right, and how poorly they've been run. And someone tweeted the other day after they fired their head coach. It was like, "Oh, the NBA, should have given Seattle an expansion team. Should have given Seattle Sacramento." I don't want to take anyone's team. As someone the Sonics are such a big deal for folks here because they were ripped, like physically ripped from you. If you ever watch the Toy Story movies, where I think it's Lotso Bear, if you watch those ones, is forgotten by his kid. I think all the Sonics fans feel like that, where they feel like the NBA doesn't care about them anymore, which true, fair. Um, I didn't like those bits. I thought that was
Mm.
crap. You know, I think that should be said as for this team, because a lot of fans were eventually, left to die, in terms of who they root for. I've seen some folks have become Kraken fans, which nice. Welcome to Kraken hockey. Um, but yeah, I thought that was crap. And then that talent, but oh yeah, the point was the main point I was making is that this is a Utah team. They can play well in transition. They can generate a lot of offense in transition. And it was funny that in the first period they had so much ozone time, but it was all from the perimeter, right? They didn't really do too much, closer to the crease or in the high slot. It was just all in the perimeter, which when I talked about the beginning of the month of December with the games against Florida and Boston, right? If you'll remember what I talked about, they kept those teams to the perimeter. They clogged up the middle of the ice. They didn't do it, I guess, as emphatically in this game against Utah, but they clogged up the middle of the ice and they keep things to the perimeter. If you do that and your goalie is tracking the puck well, which Grubauer was tonight, you're gonna usually have a good night if you can generate offense, which what does the team not usually do, Jade?
What was that? You froze a little bit.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you clog the ice and you keep everything to the perimeter and your goalie's seeing everything, well, it typically sets you up well to win games if you can score. But what have the Kraken not done?
Defend.
Well, I was gonna say score, but
Also that.
yeah.
That works
So
too.
it was kind of fascinating to see them. They only get the goal in the first period off of a power play. Um, they didn't really generate that many shots on goal. So their big thing, from what I'm aware of in this year, has been generation via transition, and they didn't get to do that much, which was good to see. from Seattle. I don't know if that was intentional that they kind of said, here, have the ozone time. We know you can't do anything with it
Hmm.
unless you're in transition. So, it was fascinating to see that. And then the third period was really when things exploded. We go into the second intermission after it was 59 seconds left. Yeah, Jay talked about, the last 5 minutes of that period. Um, Alexander Kerfoot scores late into the second period um, to tie it up off of a rebound. I'm going to see how he sprung free on this one. But he was able to get in all alone on Grubauer because of a rebound. I got to find it. I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to do this. Okay, I figured it out. Sorry. So yeah, Utah. I just talked about all this stuff about Utah in transition. They're going through the zone in transition. Michael Carcone just throws a puck at Grubauer, who you could hold this one against him. He saved the shot with his right pad, but it kicked it right out, to his right. And who's there? But Alexander Kerfoot. Josh Mahura was kind of puck watching and didn't see Kerfoot coming in, so. You could maybe that was a tough one. I wouldn't say that. You don't want to give up those rebounds, right, in general, but you could put more on Maher there. So yeah, we go into the second mission intermission tied, and I was like, I'm worried just because of like Jada talked about how they just kind of will get into these lulls of sorts and not come out of them, right? And early into that third period, Yanni Gord gets a breakaway. He gets two attempts on Vamelka. You say the veg part? It's a Vamelka. Um, he gets two attempts on him, and they both get stopped. I'm like, oh shoot! But we get a second breakaway opportunity about 7 minutes into the period, and Capo Caco, release the Caco, finds Jaden Schwartz all alone on Vamelka. And Rio's got a really great photo. I think I'll edit it in and actually do it. I said last time on Keeping Up with the Kraken I'd edit things in, and I did not do it. I was tired. Um, and you've got Schwartz skating off to celebrate, and Vamelka's got his head up like this. So great stretch pass by Kako. I mean, he in the first period on the power play, he had been right at the net. He's a big body. He was net front, like I think we've talked about. And he did that. He just didn't get the bounces. The Kraken didn't get the bounces on that power play. Um, which was great to see that. Then the next goal to make it a 2-goal game, Vince Dunn puts it up the ice to Capo Caco around the middle of the ice, who finds Matty Beniers. Matty Beniers gets some space all alone, and he kind of flubs the first shot, and I was just like, oh man, that was terrible. But he's near the the wall, and he just throws it right back at Vamelka, and he gets the lucky bounce, and he goes in. And I just tweeted immediately, I was like, I guess it's better to be lucky than good.
Uh,
um,
Allison Lucan tweeted something about Maddie Beniers finding the bounce finally or something like that. I think it was her.
yeah.
Somebody tweeted something about how he's finally finding the balance with the bouncing. So that was
Yeah.
good to see.
Because he's right near the end wall. He gets it to slip under Vamelka's skate blade and it bounces off of his other skate into the net, which is, just wild stuff. Um, So yeah, I mean that kind of brings us here. It was also Oliver Bjorkstrand bobblehead night, Oliver Bjorkstrand Maestro bobblehead night. I love the details on this. I said it in the little like mini mic video I did um pregame, but Nicole Shabazz does great work with all these bobbleheads. Like there's the signatures on all of them, like that's actually their signature. And then I don't know how well I can do it. Oh yeah, there you go. With the sheet music. The sheet music says it's the Let's Go Kraken thing. And the organist, the in arena organist Benny Drawbars, we all love Benny Drawbars. I think Jay just wants him to play more home team. Um,
Anything. Everything he plays is great. Doesn't matter what band it is.
um, helped with the sheet music so that it was, accurate. I just love the details on these where, you've got the fun facts on them. You've got when I open it, right? There's the 22 Bjorkstrand, you've got the great photos. They do such a great job with these. I typically don't keep the boxes because they're just hanging out, but it's just they do so great. And I know the Kraken have a really good record on their bobblehead nights as well. So that's nice to see too. So um I don't know. Let's just talk about what do you think? What did you think right after the final horn sounded, or after Jared McCann's empty net goal to really like seal this, that gave Bjorkstrand an assist on this bobblehead night, which is nice. Uh,
Um,
Yeah, what did you think from this game?
I was impressed at how they did bring it back around. Like I said, I didn't really expect that at all. Um, I had another thought. Um, oh, I think after Jared McCann's empty net goal, I said in a group chat, like, oh, that was very cute, very demure. The way that he just like slowly went towards the net because he knew that he had it.
Yeah.
It was a very cute goal. That's the best way that I can describe it. Because you see some players that do empty net goals and they're like big and showy about it and have a huge celly afterwards, and there's just I don't know. It seems silly to do that. So anyways, that was one of my favorite parts of the game. But seeing Kako play in front of you is also it was really cool. I think it kind of gave me a better like feel for his game almost.
Mm.
Because I can watch him on TV, I can watch him, on my phone, whatever. And it's not quite the same as seeing him in person and getting to kind of see the communication that he has with his line mates. There was a couple points where I saw him and Maddie kind of skating with each other, talking. Um, Maddie would go into the face-off circle, he would turn around, he would go back to Kako, say something to him, and then go back up. And so seeing these details that you don't usually see as good on TV,
Ah, yes.
is always really nice. And just the whole game, it a few episodes ago of Keeping Up with the Kraken, or I think maybe the last post game thing that we did. I can't
Mm.
remember. I said something about the predictability of the Kraken, and then you said something about how the Utah Hockey Club probably just knows that the Kraken can't do this, and so they were like, okay, well, this team can't. What did you say? Generate offense?
Mm. Oh, I'm trying. Well, about Seattle or Utah?
Seattle.
Yeah, they just
Yeah,
usually
you said
they're just
something about
inconsistent at
that.
it.
Yeah, you said something about that, and then okay, well, Utah probably sees this in the game, and so kind of wrapping back around to that. Um, I think that the Kraken were significantly less predictable tonight, which is uh good to see after the past couple games that we've had. So I was overall really impressed with the way that they played.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was really curious to see how after that Vancouver game, I know Dan pregame had someone asked about, I think it was Al Kaniski with the radio team, was like, how do you just take the emotion of that game and make it something tangible and make it something where it's actually you're not just, all right, we won the wild game and now it's back to crap, right?
Hmm.
So, and I think then just basically said that, you need to capitalize on it and be better. And they did look better. I mean, they got the two goals in the first period, which is nice. They've had periods, opening periods season where they generate, but they come away with nothing and they end up giving away one goal. And you're like, well, we're in a hole despite arguably looking like the better team. The second period, I mean, that was just I mean, it was a long change, sure. But then the third, for them to be able to take advantage of the stretch passes, and just in the game in general to have this sort of shoot first mentality and shoot first and then kind of care later. I like that. With Kako, he's I want to talk about him, but then I'll talk about Jaden because he's been on a tear.
Hmm.
I'm looking at Kako, like the NHL media sites, the box score, and this would show up in the normal box score as well. But he had the most shots on goal of anybody in this game. And like for someone who, you know, and why I was so excited to like take a chance on this guy, while understanding it was painful to make that trade. I will give space for that. He's a big body. He's young. I mean, we are the same age. He's a RFA, so you have control of him technically, which sounds bad, but you get the point, and he's created shot volume. A lot of these guys haven't created shot volume. I do the stat sheet, the stats for each game, right? And the shots on goal per game. Seattle has ranked in the bottom 10 far too often. For a team that struggled offensively, you just need to throw the puck on the net. Like it's so for a guy who's physical, big, does go to the net as we saw tonight on the ice and does generate shot volume, like he's doing what you need.
Hmm.
And then let alone the fact that he had the two great assists tonight, right? He had a great night. I mean, I think he was. he didn't rank super high on the hockey stat cards. He was high, but I don't
He
think
was,
he.
I think, fourth or fifth or something.
Oops, I don't want to look at Utah. Um, to yeah, fifth. Nice job. I don't. Larson had a great game, I guess. Schwartz, Vince, Beniers, Kako. Yeah, it's pretty accurate, I'd say. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I've again, it's the size and the youth and all of those things like that you could ask for from a forward, and he's young. Like,
Hmm.
where's Ron? Please, Ron, if you're gonna do anything, extension, please, quick. I
I
don't need
think
it to be big, but
I
just
think I said something about that in the first episode of Keeping Up with the Kraken post trade that we did,
mm,
um, about how, I'm we have a handful of players. They have a handful of players. I'm gonna get better someday.
meh.
That are truly the future of the franchise. If you're looking at like Maddie, Shane Wright,
Oh yes, yeah, I
players like
remember
that,
that.
but
Yep.
you have Kako who's young and is doing really good so far. I know it's only been 5 games and three of them were losses, only one home game, but so far he's looking
Yeah.
pretty good. He had more points. He has more points with the Kraken than
Oh
he did in the last 13 games with New
yeah, I'll
York.
double check that. Yep.
Um, if I'm Ron, I'm just going to reiterate it. If I'm Ron, I'm looking at keeping him around and incorporating him into the future of the franchise.
Yeah.
Also
I
because
mean,
he seems to work well with the team that we have. So,
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think you're right here. Allison Lucan, our a friend of CSS, Allison Lucan, with two primary assists in five Seattle games, Kako now has as many points as he did in the last 13 games with New York. So, yeah, I mean, it's, and even like I don't know, these guys, they have to do media and hockey players especially aren't the best at maybe being the most full of personality. Some are, but
mhm,
he just seems happy here, you know. And that's nice. I know we talked to him post game, and I think he had said that he was just kind of looking forward to his first home game, and that'll
mhm,
endear him to some folks, right? That obviously again recognizing that there's a part of the fan base that is upset with the return, and I understand that, you know um but nice way for folks that um are just learning about you, to make well with them is to show that love back, right, to
mhm.
reciprocate it. So
And he
yeah,
does come
well,
from a very passionate fan base. So coming into
oh
another
yeah,
very well passionate
passionate
in
can be a
not
few different, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say not quite the same way, but coming into another really passionate, positive
No, it
fan
makes
base,
sense.
um,
Passionate in a
I'm sure
different
is
font.
yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be a little bit like comforting to him.
Yeah,
Maybe the word, yeah. So yeah,
no,
I'm
that makes
excited to
sense.
see where he goes from here.
And I like what you said about how he fits in with this team, because and especially that line with Shorts and Beniers, right? Because all three of them can go to the net, but Maddie necessarily hasn't, and has been a distributor at times. Schwartz can just kind of you can there are two guys that have been historically the line fixers in Kraken history, which is 4 years. And it's typically Oliver Bjorkstrand, but Jaden Schwartz, I mean, he's a quieter guy, to us in the media. Even his session today, he was kind of a quieter guy, and he's kind
Hmm.
of small too. Again, he's shorter than me. Um, but he's pretty consistent. He's got good skill. It's been obvious at the goals that he's been scoring lately, especially you look at the first goal that he scored against Vancouver, and then the effort that it took for him to get the game tying goal, right? This barrel through five Canucks, arguably.
Hmm.
And then the sick backhanded wrister that did not count tonight. Um, he is, very talented. I've talked about his contract being up, not this year, but the year after that. And I was like, if you need to sell off, that's a guy that's going to have value because of the talent, and he's won a cup, and the leadership that he would be a valuable asset. Um, but again, it's still kind of murky where this team sits. As much as people want you to tank and kind of go into it fully, a lot of things can happen. They've won 2 games in a row. I'm not saying the BACK word. I spelled it out. Okay. I did not say it. Okay. I'm not saying that. But a lot of things can happen.
Hmm.
Right. So, and just like last year, they're going to take it to the deadline. They are.
Yeah.
Unless they lose the next 8 million games. I'm knocking on wood. So don't do that to me. They will arguably be in it. If they look like this and they go to the net and they keep things to the perimeter, they will start winning. I think we talked about it on last episode that I think Sylvia and I think we all agreed that we want them to be consistent.
Hmm.
You can start that by looking like this next game against Vancouver. So we'll see. I don't know if we should even really do players of the game or player of the game because I think it would just collectively be Jaden Schwartz and Capo Caco. Do you have
Yeah.
any
And
disagreement
honestly,
with that?
Grubauer, he had some pretty good saves tonight. Yeah, I think that the Kraken stars of the game would be my stars of the game in the exact same order.
Sorry, I had to plug in my laptop. Uh, I was like looking, I was like, why is the battery going down? Um, Yeah, I agree with that. And fun piece of Kraken history, which has resulted in the Kraken's, God bless the Kraken PR. They've dealt with me for 4 years now. They've seen me go from, you know, I think I was 20 that first year. Yeah. And they've seen me grow up, which is wild. Um, uh, I went and asked because our friend Milo, who remember I said in the beginning in the section with Joey Dacord's injury, I said not to doom spiral. I just got a text like the morning of the episode going live, and Milo goes, "I heard Milo spiral." I was like, "No, it's not what I'm talking about, buddy." We love Milo. Is that Philip Grubauer is the all-time winningest German-born goaltender in NHL history. Because if you look at it, um, in terms of German-born, I can look at this on the media site now. I didn't think to look at it there. I just went to this website that um, Milo sent me. But country. Oh, Bahamas. Yeah, how many goalies are from the? Oh wait. Oh God, I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole with this. But yeah, if we look at hmm, I don't know how to do all time, but you look at like the all-time leaders in wins for a goaltender that are German. It's Ole Kolsig, who's got like 300 or something, but he was born in South Africa. So my whole thing was that if he's German born, that is a specific stat I can use. That is a legitimate thing, right? Like if it was German goaltenders, yes, Ole Kosig, yes. So you'll notice the Kraken's post went from second most wins by a German-born goaltender to I think the latest is German goaltender.
Hmm.
Um, so that's history. That is history. Um, and yeah, at least in looking at his actual game here, instead of just talking about that weird gripe that I had, um, you know, I wonder how I can do this all time. Sorry, I'm still messing around with this. Oh yeah, leaders, duh. Um, but he had a good game. I mean, you could tell he was tracking it well in the beginning. Oh, oh, okay. I'm looking at the media site here. Goalie career stats reports, and I'm regular season Germany. Um, and Philip Grubauer number 1 with 163. What have I done? My influence. I told PR, and they were like, "Let me get clarification." That says Germany. Hmm.
So Grubauer is officially the winningest
Winning
German-born
is
goalie.
woot 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 woot. Hi, Philip. I know you see Philip over there. Let's go, dude. Hey, man, that's history, And again, like, oh, geez, I messed with my camera. Now I got to put you back. For as much as what he's dealt with, with some of the fans that, I kind of went on a tangent about last episode, right? and again, I've never said that he's like a perfect goaltender, and I never said that his worth his contract. That was another bad Ron Francis contract. We talked about Jaden Schwartz. He was a free agent when he signed here for the expansion. That's a good contract. I'd argue that's a good contract. Um, he's always been great to us in the media. He did our stupid baseball video we did with him. Um, he's always been great. They had him at the Bellevue Mall doing a signing. He's always been great to fans. I don't think you'll ever find a fan, say they had a bad experience with him. Jade, I think you would agree before I think in the beginning when we started you here, you were part of an event where you met the guy, right?
That was over the summer, so that was after I
Over the
started here.
summer.
But
Yeah.
um, yeah, Ladies of the Kraken did a fundraiser for SAFE, which is where Grubauer partners with for horses. They did an episode of what's that thing called that they do? They took Borgen fly fishing. They talked about uh Yanni Gord, woodworking.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, 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 yes.
Grubauer's episode was about SAFE, which is, anyways, horses. That's his whole thing. So, Ladies of the Kraken threw a fundraiser for SAFE, and Grubauer was there and did signings and hung out the whole time. And he was super, super nice the whole time. Um, and yeah, I've had nothing but good interactions with him. So,
Yeah, and again, I'd say that like you will hardly find someone who would say otherwise about him.
mhm.
Um, so I just, players see this stuff, typically. Like
Yeah.
Mitch Garver, if you'll remember during the Mariners season, he talked about how his like wife had received death threats in addition to him because of how poorly he had played. And he acknowledged like for as many stupid folks online, whether it's just people who are angry or people with their parlays, which get a grip. You know, they see it and folks say, "Oh, they're not trying." They're trying. It might not be working, but they're trying.
hmm
You might need to kick your alcohol addiction or your gambling addiction. It might not work immediately. Like, I just hate the hate he's gotten and like people saying that they need to put an AHL goalie in over him last game. Get real. So I don't know. I'll stop with that. I'll before I get real fiery. Um, I'm feeling good, man. I had a bad holiday, but being there tonight, seeing all the folks, it was, and I think it was after the Schwartz goal. I looked over at Jade and I said, I haven't heard that in a long time. The one of the greatest feelings to me as someone who is at these games, right, is when you audibly hear the crowd say, yeah. You can
hmm
hear the crowd say, yeah, after you hear the funk after Schwartz scored. Like, that's the coolest thing in the world to me. Um, Oh God, I went on a rant on my not a rant, but I went on a sappy spree on my personal after the because it means a lot to me, to hear that. And in terms of the teams we cover, the Kraken fan base has been so great to supporting our coverage. So um I
Kind of
appreciate that.
trailing off of that, we talked a little bit about how the stands have been empty-ish. Not
Mm,
as many people have been showing up. And tonight during the national anthem, I was looking around and I was like, oh wow, there's way more people here than there normally is, and way more people than I expected for 5 p.m. on a Friday. And
yep,
the whole arena, the whole game
Monday.
was loud, and um, it was a nice change of pace compared to how things have been. Um,
That's
so
a
that
good
was also
point.
really nice to see.
Yeah, yeah. No, I had thought about that during the game too, and thank you for reminding me because we would probably gotten done and I'd say, shit, I forgot that. Because you can tell if the crowd is feeling it
hmm
there. In the first period, they were pretty into it with the grooves, which is nice. They were louder than normal with that. And you could tell they wanted to blow up. Um, and they did. The second period is rough because it was just a slow period. It was a
hmm
mucky, ugly period. But yeah, I would agree with that. I would say the crowd was better than it's been lately, and especially for 5 o'clock. It's weird because we're doing this, and we would probably be doing this what, like at midnight or 1 a.m. We're doing
Uh,
this now. We started at like 10.
yeah, I think
Um,
last time it was I think last time I was closer to 1 a.m. So it's a
So
nice change of pace to have this done earlier in the night.
yeah, I'm like, let's get Jade out of here, but I've been yapping. So yeah, no, man. I mean, just again, the guy's dealt with a lot in terms of how the fan base has treated him, at least sections of the fan base has treated him. And he knows it. I mean, he wants to be better. He's looked better. I mean, if we look at the month of December, again, he looked good in the Boston game. He made some key saves in that Rangers game on the road, despite the wacky score. He made some saves in that Vancouver game. If he doesn't make some of the saves he does, they can't come back in that game, right?
Hmm.
Like his ability to do so, there's always those saves where it says, if they come back, remember that one. And he's had those. So, he was tracking the puck well in this one. Yes, he did spit that rebound out. Sure, you could also argue that Mahura probably should have seen Kerfoot coming down, down near him in that one. So, no, it was a good one. I had some stats, sorry, from the comeback. Yeah. So this was a comeback. This is another comeback. Um, the Kraken staged their 10th comeback win of the season. It's the third time this season they've rallied to win consecutive games. Also, October 10th and 19th to November 8th and 12th. They've never claimed three straight wins via comeback in team history. I don't want to make that happen. I would like to win normally.
Hmm.
Um, but
For once.
yeah, it was, that was really cool to see. I think another one, I don't know for sure if this is true, but with his goal in the first period, Andre Burakovsky has goals against 33 different teams tonight, if you count Arizona and Utah as separate teams. Because if
That
you look at the,
is accurate as far as I know, because I was looking at that before the game also.
yeah, different, Bjorkstrand didn't score, he got the assist. Um,
Oh, yeah, 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 you're right.
he would have been the other guy to do that. But hey, Berkey history. I don't
Hmm.
know. Like wins like these are momentum builders. To have two different type of momentum builders in a game that you have a wild comeback, a game you had no business winning, and especially to do so against yes, a division rival. I know they're not super rivalry yet, but a geographical rival, and then I don't put anything against the ones against Utah, but it was somewhat chippy, right? I think you
Hmm.
agree with that. And to do so and get that big final period in your home building, those are two very different momentum builders, and I hope that they work to just kind of keep them moving forward. Do you have anything else game related before I look at the stretch ahead?
Not that I can think of now.
Perfect. All right. I always want to make sure I don't leave anything sort of like, hey, I actually wanted to talk about this. So yeah, this was the first game of a four-game homestand. They do not have practice tomorrow. I know initially they had, so please do not show up to Climate no Kraken Community Iceplex unless you want to skate because they will not be there. They are back on Wednesday the 1st. That is a open to the public practice. I think it was on the KCI website, right?
The
Um,
KCI website had it had tomorrow and then an optional skate on Thursday the 2nd.
yeah. I wonder if they've updated it yet. Nope, they have not updated it. Yeah, so yeah, they're supposed to practice on Wednesday. I don't imagine that one's open, but Thursday the optional should be open. If you want to come to that one ahead of their game against the Vancouver Canucks on Thursday, January 2nd, with a puck drop time of 7 p.m. Pacific time. We get back to normal. Jade is not going to be nice. It will, I believe, that is the Starbucks Cup giveaway.
That
Um,
is.
I believe that's the one. Yes. So and this is also the one where it's all fans in attendance will get this Kraken Starbucks reusable cup. A nice little collaboration here. I talked about, the bobbleheads, of course, designed by Nicole Shabazz. Katie Spence, one of the great folks who work with the Kraken in their graphic design, did the little designs on this one. Both of us love Katie Spence. I think Jade would agree with that as well.
Yep.
Um, that's another great one. They have the two goalie bobblehead giveaways later in the year, but they don't have the pictures yet. I want to see the pictures. I want to see what they look
Hmm.
like. Um, but yeah, you've got that game against Vancouver on Thursday, day of probably practice. Edmonton on Saturday, the PWHL takeover game on Sunday, and then the New Jersey Devils come to town. JD, you can make a sneer or an angry face or a disappointed face for for the Devils. Yeah, there you go. On Monday the 6th. So I don't know. I'm not gonna make any big predictions because I don't really like to do that. Maybe I just get scared I'll be wrong. But
Hmm.
I don't know if they're able to keep this up. You know, they're able to keep this up and stay healthy is the big thing, right?
Hmm.
Because God forbid they start playing well and then someone goes down. Um, I don't know. They'll look a lot better than they have. They will look better than a bottom 10 team, a bottom five team, in the league. So I don't know. Yeah, good one. Obviously more fun to talk about the wins and the losses. So
Absolutely.
from Jade and myself, hope you have a happy New Year's Eve, because I don't think we'll do anything ahead of when that happens. Please be careful. Like I said, on Keeping Up with the Kraken, do not blow your hand off for the firework. Until we see you next time, take care of yourselves. Be
Also,
well.
call an Uber if you're drinking. Uber, Lyft, public transportation, walk, a friend,
Yep,
important things.
yep. I've taken a few public transportation buses home while I am more than intoxicated.
Hmm.
Thank you, Seattle King County Metro. Yeah, great point as well. It is always a better option to do that than, God forbid something else happens. So, yes. So we see you then. Take care of yourselves. That includes doing that. Be
Hmm.
well and do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Cracking away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.
Hello there, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports. I'm joined by Jen Barnes of Rough and Tumble that we happen to be at right now.
Yeah.
Jen, why don't you talk to me a little bit about what we're announcing today, which is our partnership.
I'm so excited about this. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I think all of us here at Rough and Tumble are big fans of what you and your team at Circling Seattle Sports does. And so, I know you know this, but when you came to me with this idea, it just seemed pretty natural. And it's not just me. I think a lot of people in the sports community in Seattle also really respect you and your team. So it's exciting to kind of see these two things melding together, and we're really excited to start implementing some of the things and then hopefully seeing you guys a little bit more often.
Yeah, and so with what Jen says about seeing us more often, we've got a few things in the works, but you'll see watch parties here. We'd like to do a few different of our community drives, which you'll hear about here in a little bit. From now, we've got to make our announcements one at a time. I can't drop everything.
Not everything
right.
all at once.
But this has been a home for a lot of our team, whether it's myself, our friend, our photographer Liz is behind the camera. Liz is here often, so our team has kind of adopted this place kind of like our own since I saw you at our soft launch. So, it's been great to have that support. And in a lot of ways, and part of the reason I wanted to do this was the Rough and Tumble embodies a lot of what Circling Seattle Sports wants to do. Obviously with women's sports, with the storm and the rain, but just being, having the game on, every game on.
Yep.
How much of that, did you see align kind of even before this idea was mentioned when I first met you?
I think it's always felt like that. I mean, you and your team were here on opening night, and you just feel like you're part of the space, so it felt like really natural. And the fact that you actually cover all of the sports really makes your group stand out. So you are always covering all the rain games, all the storm games. UW women's softball, UW women's basketball, UW women's hockey. We love it. So all of those things, and obviously passionate M's fans, passionate Hawks fans, and passionate Kraken and Sounders fans. So really, from our perspective, those two things meshed really well.
So, you heard it from Jen herself, but this will be our home for all of these events, whether it's you can't make it to these games at home, we're always going to direct you to Rough and Tumble, and obviously the games on the road as well. All these, we're talking about the rain, they've got their schedule out finally, but this will be our home for that.
Great.
The storm games on the road, this is our home.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
I love it.
And when I mentioned it to Jen when I first had this idea come up, I had this idea come up wearing a pink wig.
Yes, you did.
Ahead of Megan Rapinoe's final regular season home game for the Reign this past year.
Yeah.
I told her it's because I wanted this to feel genuine.
Yep.
I wanted a connection to feel genuine, and it does. So that's what this is. Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, and I'm so excited to finally announce this partnership.
I can't wait.